All right, hello and welcome to a new feature here at cornfedsports.com. It's going to be our daily webcast radio show where we bring you updates, videos, everything, interviews, all the stuff that we do here at Cornfed Sports on a daily basis. My name's Pat Radigan. I'm the publisher and founder of Cornfed Sports. And today we're going to start with just a little bit of an update. We don't have a lot going on today in the world of Husker sports, or this week in the world of Husker sports for that matter, but we have a couple things to stay updated on. So we'll start with the women's basketball team, who started their Big Ten play this last week with a 70-52 win over Wisconsin. Senior Lindsey Moore had 26 points, while sophomore forward Emily Cady added 14, and Jordan Hooper added 13 of her own. It was Nebraska's first Big Ten game, so they start conference play with a 1-0 record, as the Nebraska women will take on Purdue in a rematch of the Big Ten championship in a nationally televised game tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the Devaney Center. Also going on this weekend, the Husker men will be back in action after dropping their Big Ten opener to number 8 Ohio State 70-44 in Columbus this past week. Although Nebraska had a tough go of things in their first time out, they'll take on Wisconsin on Sunday at 3:30 in a game that Husker coach Tim Miles says is winnable, and they'll be wearing special red uniforms for Adidas for a matchup with Wisconsin and Nebraska's second special uniform game with Wisconsin after this fall with the football team. Also in the news for the Nebraska athletics, the Nebraska women's track and field team was ranked the 4th best dual team in the country earlier this afternoon as they approach the indoor season, while Nebraska wrestler Robert Kokesh was named the Co-Big Ten Wrestler of the Week. So those are some of the headlines from around the world of Husker sports. Next weekend, all the Husker sports and all the winter Husker sports will probably be back in action and will be on the road mostly, but there'll be some in action. Husker wrestling gets in action. Huskers women's gym gets in action. Men's and women's basketball will be on the road. So we'll definitely have a lot more to go with next week, and we'll have a lot more updates and information from the world of Husker sports. So for this next part here, we're just going to preview one of the other features that we're going to have as part of our Cornfed Sports in the Morning show. And yes, we know it's not the morning right now, but next week it'll come at you from the morning, and there'll be a show that comes out every single morning. So here's just another taste of what's coming with our show. We have an interview. We had a Huskers SID, a student SID, come in yesterday, Gage Peak, and did a little segment with us, a little interview segment. So with no further ado, here's our first ever guest on Cornfed Sports in the Morning. Sports, but he still gets to go to all the big sports, and he gets to come along for the ride with us. So he has to deal with me during games a little bit. So I figured I'd drag him into the studio so we can get a little bit going on. So we're going to start with a little women's basketball here. So we'll take a clip. We'll take a look at a clip that was our game report from last night's game.
Lindsey was Lindsey. I mean, she's. This is not the first time that I've seen her play that way, and nor hopefully the last. And Emily, I thought, really stepped up her game.
It's just more of that's what they were giving us. They were giving us a three-point shot, and so we were taking it and we were knocking it down. So it's great having another point guard out there like with Rachel. She's a great playmaker, great decision maker. So it's easy for us to just get the ball to whoever on the outlet and just run and try to make things happen in transition.
Coach has this thing in practice, it's called Shooters Club, and so those people who aren't like shooting as well like stay after practice and shoot. So I think that's helped a lot, and it's like built confidence, and it's just like whenever you're on, you're on.
You know, we're playing in the second best league in the country according to the RPI, and you know, anytime you can get a win, it's good, and you know, winning by a fairly decent margin, and you know, they cut it to 4, and then I thought, you know, then we, you know, got it going a little bit again, and it was a game of runs, but I thought overall we, you know, played some pretty good basketball.
So as you heard there from Coach, you already, last night was just another example of Lindsey being Lindsey. Yep. She hopes we're not going to see it for the last, or that's not the last time we've seen it. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see it.
Anytime you shoot 5 for 8 from 3, 26 points, 36 minutes, I mean, she's an unstoppable force that we are going to truly miss her next year.
Oh, definitely. But, I mean, last night you see in that game, she's taken over not just how she scored and how she did it, but when she did it. And those shots, I mean, you can go off on that a little bit.
Well, the thing is she's not just a great scorer. I don't have the stats in front of me, but she hasn't scored 26 points yet this year. She's more of a game management player this year. And then she still has that in her back pocket just to, whenever she wants, she can pull up from 25 feet away and defender's face and just hit a 3.
Definitely the same thing. I think that you saw last night in the game that they only had the 3 makes inside the 3-point range in the second half. But I think that, like you said, that Lindsey was managing the game, and she was getting an open look for Emily and an open look for herself, and they just weren't missing. So why are you going to stop doing it if you're managing the game, you're getting good looks, and you're hitting your threes. I mean, you think that's why there was that low number, is because it was just going with what they were getting last night?
I think, that's the whole one thing I was looking at, because I was doing the shot chart, and only we made more threes than twos. I'm going to guess Connie liked what she saw, and then it just went from there. I mean, I'm not complaining when you're hitting that many threes a game.
Definitely. I mean, that's what we just saw Emily say
Yeah.
that too, that those are the shots they were giving them, that's where they're going with it. So,
yeah.
we'll go back. We got some more clips from last night's game, so we'll build off of just last night's performance. So let's hear a little bit more from the team, and then we'll come back for some more women's basketball talk.
At times it was pretty good, and we were doing really good things, and we were boxing out, and we were able to run. And at times that we'd give them a couple, if not 3, offensive rebounds in a row. And so it's just little things and just bearing down and doing the things in our system that we need to do. But overall, I think it was okay. I think we can always play better on defense as a team.
Obviously, everybody's going to try to do a good job on Jordan. She doesn't even get a lot of looks, but I mean, Lindsay's just smart. She knows how to read screens, and she got one off of a ball screen. She got 2 of them off of down screens. Can't think of where else she got the one. I don't know, but she gets them in different ways.
Obviously, Em and Hooper do a really good job as opposed of driving and getting it in transition at the trailer spot. So definitely that's obviously a plus, but we run a no point guard system, so it helps that anyone at any time can get the outlet.
So we just heard kind of an update from the team is that last night was the first win in their first game in conference play. So they're going to start up the conference schedule now. It's going to be two weeks. Yeah, Purdue's this week, but 2 games a week. It's going to get into the grind of things. So we're just kind of look big picture here instead of just focusing on Purdue, just focusing on what's coming up. We'll look at some of the big picture things. So the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is one of the things we just heard from Lindsay talking about Rachel Theriot, and talking about that in Nebraska's offense. Getting up on the wings with moving the ball around. I asked her last night if you can really have too many ball handlers, and she didn't think that in that kind of offense, it's a no point guard offense, that you can't really. I mean, from what you've seen, what do you think Rachel in the game as a point guard, as kind of a game manager, has done with the women's basketball team?
She just adds that extra dimension. We talk like, say in football, we have so many people that we can use at one time. It's almost the same with the women's basketball. Rachel can shoot threes. She hit a 3 last night. She's just smart. She doesn't go too fast. She doesn't go too slow. She just knows exactly where to go with the ball, and she can hit an open shot when it's open, and that's what we need her to do.
Definitely, I think that's a good comparison. Looking at the skill position in football or something like that, that she's just another kind of weapon like that. That it's not the same type of guard. It's not the same. You have a T. Laudermill, you have a Brandon Jeffrey that are your deep threats or those kind of things.
Yeah, Sadie, a true freshman,
definitely
can come hit a 3 once in a while.
Definitely. So it's just kind of nice to have another one of those players. And you saw it last night. She comes into the game. She gets kind of a pump fake, moves around the player, hits the mid-range jumper. Yep. The next time they come a little bit more hesitant, and that's where she hit that 3 you're talking about. So
and then she hits that 3, and then I want to say possession after that. They do their general offense where Hooper's at the elbow screening for someone, and then someone screens for her. She'll pop out, hit a 3. I mean, it's a never-ending cycle of success.
Definitely. I think the other thing is that she only has those 5 points, those 2 baskets made in that sequence, but 2 assists, 1 turnover last night in 25 minutes of play. So that even though you see Wisconsin get up and put 20 turnovers out there, and it seems easy to say that you're just going to benefit from that, and that you're not going to turn the ball back over, and you can just play good defense. But it kind of seems at times that in games when there's a lot of turnovers from one team, and it goes back and forth like that. And so to see her be out there that long in that kind of hectic game where they're forcing that many turnovers and be able to take the ball in transition, take the ball and not turn it over, I think was a big sign for her play. And also, some of the other guards did a good job of holding on the ball. I mean, they had some in transition where passes got away from them.
Yeah, Haley Sample is one of them. She did. I think she did a good job. She's shown previously she scored 20 in a game in a loss, but she's another added threat to that team. And I think as a basketball team, you can't complain.
I think the big difference you're seeing with her this year is like you said, that she can control the ball, shot turnover. And I think the big part of that is instead of last year, she catches the ball and she's standing out and they want to let her shoot and she doesn't know what she's doing. This year she's getting the ball and going to the hoop, and it might not make a lot of sense that somebody's attacking and driving more is going to turn over less. But when you're making a move and you're being aggressive, they don't have the opportunity to kind of get in there. So I think that you've seen that with Haley, how she's one of those that can get up.
Exactly.
All right. The other thing that I just want to talk about that they kind of mentioned there's the defense, and that an interesting thing that Coach Ori said is that they're not, outside of T, they're not just going to man up and snatch the ball from you and take it right away.
Right.
And you see a lot of those where somebody gets a steal, but the person who actually gets the steal isn't the person who earned the steal. And I think that with this team, that's something you see a lot more.
Yeah.
What have you seen?
I've noticed, that's what I noticed that as well. When T's in the game, she's going 150%. She's up in everyone's face from baseline to baseline trying to get the steal. But I noticed when she's not in the game, Lindsay will be there and she can start pressuring her, and then you can do a double team, and then someone can get the steal, and then if it's a fast break, I'm going to say we're going to score 90% of the time, because whether it's inside or they're going to pull up from 3, because Hooper can hit it. If no one's within 5 inches of Hooper, as we were talking about last night at the game, she's most likely going to hit the 3. So the defense. I wish our men's team could play as good as our women's team sometimes, because
that's true, and I think that's a good point that you bring up Hooper shooting the same vein, because like last night it happened, and that's when we talked about that.
Yeah.
They get the steal, they get down the court, and the team's kind of scrambling. They swing the ball to Hooper. She looks to pass, and she's like, "Wait a second, no one's guarding me. I'm going to make the shot if you're not within the couple feet of me." So I think that same kind of environment where they get hands on balls, where one player's tapping the ball, the other player's getting the steal. If one player gets a steal and they run down the court, you can D them up in transition. You saw that last night where Lindsay got a steal, she had to lay it off, and they weren't able to finish. So that sometimes when it's more chaos, when they don't know where it's going on, Emily Cady...
It flows. And I think it flows because you have a senior All-American point guard who has got a great future ahead of her in basketball.
Definitely.
And I think that's, if you want to build a basketball team, just in football you need, in the NFL they always say it's a quarterbacks-driven league. We need a good point guard for basketball, and that's what's leading us.
And that's what's impressive is that even when she scores the way she does, even if she's still in transition and all those little elements, just gets the pass in the net, but gets the ball in Rachel's hands to make plays when she needs to, gets the ball to T's hands so she can push the ball and get the easy layup. So it's not even just getting the assists, it's not even just hitting the threes, it's seeing it in advance, and I think that's what you the point you bring up, that she just kind of crafts all that herself.
And it's something that, that's weird is that we didn't even bring this up. Emily Cady. Emily Cady, when she was over 10 points too.
Oh yeah, she had 14 points.
14.
And then I think she had 14. I think she had 14 rebounds.
I'm sure if she watches this, she's gonna be like,
but yeah, she had a double. She had a lot of threes, and I think that the reason that you don't see that is because everybody else kind of did their job.
Yeah.
And when there's less pressure on somebody like Emily, then she can just go out there and perform. And like she said last night, she didn't even feel like she deserved the rebounds at times. She said that they just kind of fell to her, and she just looked surprised. And we'll throw on a little clip after here, and we'll end on a clip of Emily now. I feel kind of bad, so we'll manufacture that clip. But she said the same thing, and also she had a funny comment about taking rebounds from Jordan as well. And so that it kind of spread that way. So Emily did just have one of those sneaky games last night.
She always just seems like she's just so surprised. She'll just get the ball and shoot up 3, and it's nothing. Then she goes out of the game.
And when she scores a lot, when she does well, you don't really notice her, and it's kind of funny. A couple times you do notice her, and she gets hit kind of hard in the face. And she'll get mad because somebody hits her to the ground a little time, and she gets a little attitude. So she's a little more noticeable when she's getting fired up. But like Coach Ori said last night, Emily turns it on this time of year, and she loves playing against big competition. So I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll have plenty to talk about.
Exactly.
So sorry we left you out a little bit there, but we'll get back to it. So we'll show our Emily Cady clip here, and we'll come back with some men's basketball.
I'd stripped from Hooper, so I have to say sorry to her for a couple of those that should have been hers, but I took.
Well, you can out-rebound her, that's not too bad, huh?
Well, mostly she out-rebounds me, but yeah. I mean, it felt great. It was kind of like finally we're hitting shots, we're in motion, and we're kind of meshing together, and it all felt good. So, she's always on. When isn't Lindsay on? I tell her all the time that she needs to shoot because she's over 50% shooter, and she passes up open shots a lot. So I always tell her that she needs to shoot.
All right, we're back now. We still got Gage around here, so we're gonna use it for as much as we can. We're gonna switch over to men's basketball here now. I don't know if you've noticed it all, but when we're making the corn-fed predictions, we're making it right alongside him, and so we've had some luck this year. So hopefully nothing we talk about today, nothing we get too bold about, really jinxes anything, because it's been going well so far. But we're gonna talk a lot of it.
It's been going well for me. Pat, I don't know if it's been going well for Pat.
Although I did get the Ray Gallegos dunk recently, so I called that earlier on in the year. It didn't happen, but he has thrown it down. So when we get the Devaney dunk for Ray, then I'll come full way. But if Ray can keep up the scoring, then I think I look a little bit better. But we'll jump right into it. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of big positive storylines to talk about from last night's game at Ohio State. But as we were just talking about, in any game like that, top 10 team, first game conference play, especially in an atmosphere like Columbus, going into that city, seeing everything around there. That's a lot to bite off. I mean, do you think that that's something that even the coaches might have even seen something like that come a little bit? I mean, how do you think?
I
that
feel
that
like,
could take?
and I guess I can't speak for Coach Miles and company, but
It's hard to speak for somebody who's not spoken to that, so we wouldn't even dream of it.
Yeah, I would assume they're going into every game this year. They don't really have an expectation, and as a fan and working here, I don't have expectation. A win is a win, and it doesn't matter who it is. If it's to Jacksonville State, that's a win to me, and if it's to Ohio State, well, that's a win to me too. And I think if you go into it every game just one by one, not looking ahead, not looking behind, that's, I guess, if Coach Miles, I mean, we only have, 6 scholarship players playing right now, and Andre's out, and it looks like he'll be out for a while, so we're going to have to play with Sergey, so...
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important about that is, like you said, that they're taking it by next game, trying to focus on every game. And I think that if you do that, and you look at how they're standing now, if you look at the end of that game, they have the early run, they just go on such a big thing. That could have gotten a lot worse. And they didn't score a lot, they don't do a lot offensively to try and get back in that game. But when you look at the margin, they worked against the margin. They cut the margin down. And so I think that those little things, and that it seems moral victory, you can't really ever put out a moral victory on something like that. But to say that running your offense and feeling like, hey, maybe you can score, maybe you can get the surges you need and the little spurts you need, and have a player, Ray is the only one who goes in double digits, but having a player say, hey, I can hit shots against a team like that. I think that having a game like that to start conference play sets you up to not lose. But that could be the worst.
Yeah, if Kent Pavelka, play-by-play for the radio, he broke down perfectly last night in the first half. We had an opportunity. We were down by 5 at one point in the first half. I think it was right after the first media timeout. And Ohio State gets the ball, and they go down. And we give up 3 offensive rebounds, and then they hit a corner 3. And, that's when their 16-2 run starts. In a game like that, when you're on the road against Ohio State, which is probably going to be, I'm going to say, a 3 seed in the tournament this year, you can't do that. You can't even do that at home, especially with the competition that we're going to be playing against the Big Ten in conference season. So we just got to somehow find a way to make play as perfect as possible throughout.
Definitely. I think that if you see something like that where you allow a run, you allow little things like that, I think those are teachable moments, and that it seems dumb to just say that gives you hope for the future, is that you had moments where you saw it slip, but it's not like they just went out the whole game and had no answer and just got slowly steamrolled.
Right.
It's not, there's little moments and little things that you see that could change.
And that's what everyone needs to remember, is this is the first season under Coach Miles. So what Dylan did last year, what Ray's been doing the last 3 years, it's probably totally different than what they're doing now. And you get that sense, that different aura around the team this year. I don't know if you felt that, but it's different, and I like it.
Definitely.
I really do like it.
And I think that's a good way to put it, is that sense in this aura, because they don't say it. They don't come out and say, we have a new coach, it's a new attitude.
Right.
They just feel it. They just truly believe it. And so I think that you can see that in what they're saying, that it's not something they have to talk about. If they're just going to go out there and do it and be about this new attitude and be about this new era, then they don't need to say it. And I think that's something you're seeing. Yeah. And so now we'll bring up the graphic here and we'll look at some of the players. We got Ray, Dylan, Dylan Talley, and Brandon Ubel out there, 3 team leaders. And so we're going to talk about them a little
3
bit.
amigos.
Definitely. all averaging double figures. Ray's shooting well from 3-point range, and then Dylan and Brandon have been leading the team with rebounding and some of those things. So the thing I want to talk about here is that it looks, you look at numbers like this, you might say players in this range and players who are leading the team, the numbers might go down. The competition's going to pick up. But one of the things we were talking about earlier, I think, and it's important, they're going to have to do the bulk of the scoring. They're going to have a big game. So do you see that maybe the numbers might kick up a little bit, that that they might have 20-point games, 30-point, big games like that? I mean, do you see that happening with these 3 guys?
As these 3 guys, I'm going to say these 3 guys are our leaders on the team. You want that from them. And if we're playing in Ohio State or a Michigan or an Indiana, the way we will win that game is if these 3 guys score above 10 points. And you have to have one guy. You have to have one guy like a Ray to hit 6 or 7 threes, 5 threes in a game, like Lindsey Moore did last night. Score 26 points. That can help us, especially if it's a home crowd. And Ray, you saw USC game when he got up in the face of the defender. We need that attitude to carry us, because we're not going to be, as talented as a lot of the teams in the Big Ten, and we certainly certainly don't have depth. So
Definitely, and I think that
we need those three to.
that even the role players at times could see the numbers spike, not because they're going to consistently go out there and improve what they're doing, but because they're going to get it. They're going to have a game against Purdue where it clicks, something like that.
You saw against, I believe it was Central Michigan, David Rivers scored 20 points, or, Siobhan Shields is due for a 20, 25-point game, too, in conference. I'll pray every day for this, but my friend Mike Peltz, Mike, if you watch this, you have a great shot. Shoot some threes and score.
I would say 8 points. 8 points for Mike Peltz would be like a 20-point shot.
If we're sitting in press row and Mike Peltz scores 10 points, I'm pretty sure Lee and Brian Rosenthal behind us are going to have heart attacks, and I'm going to be the happiest man alive. Because that means if they're scoring, we're going to be doing quite well, I think.
That is true, but yeah, I mean, I think that you do make up a great point that in those fringe matchups that if you come in and the team's in foul trouble and Siobhan gets a good matchup and he gets somebody you can take advantage of, or he just comes off and he's in that second rotation going, it's like they can make it, they can fill it up.
Yeah.
Both of them can hit the three, they can drive, they've finished at the rim even at times and gotten and ones and looked impressive around the basket. So I think that you make 3 baskets in a row, you can make 3 more in the blink of an eye. So I think that's a good point. That it might be 20 points in one game and 4 points in every other game, but if those games could equal a win. And if you have 4 or 5 players do that and you steal 4 or 5 wins, and then you win the 4 or 5 that you should win, that's 8 to 9 wins. So I think that's how you can manufacture is that if you just have those big performances. And we're not directly declaring it yet, or at least I'm not. I'm the one who makes the Ray predictions. But if Ray were to have a 30-point game, that you're going to win.
We're not saying that he will.
We're not saying that he will, but if he does,
yes.
you're not going to lose that game. That's not. You're not going to go downhill from there.
No.
So I think that you see those kind of things. It's capable. You've seen it that you have players like, and we'll go to Dylan Tyler's rebound in a second. But you have players like Ray, who I've called the dunk all year, and we saw the dunk on the road. But the reason I bring that up is because in like a Wake Forest game, he makes those shots because they can't match his athleticism. And it doesn't matter who's in front of him, and you can come out and you can just own somebody like that. And so I think that explosiveness, that it doesn't show up all the time, and it might not be the most consistent thing, but when you can take a jumper and out-jump somebody and just hit it right in their face and not be worried, that can have a night where it just doesn't turn off.
And the key thing about you saying that, he's open shooting a 3 is we need a post presence. And with Almeida, that's going to hurt. But you saw in the Wake Forest game, when Almeida and Ubell start going, and inside game's going strong, and then now you add Shields into that, and Rivers is playing so much better than he was at the start of the season, that's going to open up more shots. But the stat that just is so bizarre to me, well, it's truth. I mean, in losses, Ray scored, he scored 3 points, 5 points, 9 points. I mean, we can't have him, Brandon scored 6 points last night. We're not going to win that many games, unfortunately, especially with Almeida out. Ubell's he's got to carry, he's got to score 15 points a game.
Definitely.
He's got to make up for him.
And I think that another thing you can see from something like Brandon Ubell is a night where he has 14, 15 rebounds.
Yes,
and they win a defensive game because he blocks out every single time, because he gets the boards that he should. And so I think that you can see those numbers for these guys spike and can even improve, because they can just have games that are anomalies because they're going to have to, because nobody else is going to do it, because you're going to see the fringe production go down. So if the smaller players aren't chipping in that extra rebound, that extra point, it's got to come from somewhere. So you can see the stats.
It seems to me that our point guards, Ray will play point guard once in a while, but our true point guards, Benny and Mike, they don't necessarily like to shoot all that often. Benny will shoot once in a while, so what they have to do is open up everyone so then these guys can shoot, because we don't get that many guys that can shoot a lot, so we got to pick and strike, and we got to be successful and make shots.
And now we'll end our basketball chat on this last little topic I'm gonna bring up, and this is my insightful research mode right here. So I'm pretty proud of this one.
All right.
That I think that one of the things, and I'm pulling the Ade Dagunduro card here, because again, especially the Texas game that I was at, that I got to storm the court after, when he makes those shots, when he gets those boards, when he does that stuff.
Yes.
I think that in certain games and in crunch time, that if you have somebody, it doesn't matter if you're 6'2", 6'5", 6'10", but if you can just perform physically beyond your body, what you should be capable of, and you just have that athleticism that's just like, I'm getting it done right now, that makes a difference.
Yes.
And I think Dylan Talley, I've talked about Ray, and I'm a huge on the Ray bandwagon, but I think that in those big moments and in the games where we're going to do something and upset something like that, I think Dylan Talley is the key. And here's the stat that I'm pointing to, is that Dylan Talley right now is averaging 5.6 rebounds a game.
Okay.
6'5",
Yeah.
5.6 rebounds a game, and Nebraska's not getting a ton of rebounds. They have some other guys who are putting up, some good rebounds. So
Right.
it's not that that's just like an anomaly on the team. There's you see production. It's not like he's the only one who's possibly getting rebounds. If you look at some of the different guys, you got Sam Thompson, 6'7", wing player from Ohio State, 4 rebounds a game. Victor Oladipo from Indiana, he's 6'5", but he can jump 6 times higher than anybody else in the Big Ten. He's got 5.9, so he's slightly ahead of him, but you'd expect that. Will Shee from Indiana, he's 6'7", 4.1 rebounds a game. Then you got Tim Hardaway from Michigan, 6'6", but he's freakishly athletic and lanky. Like you said, he's got the pro genes in him. So he's 5.3 rebounds a game. So he's right there, and he's ahead of all those guys. And then here's the last part. Here's the sinker. Is you look at Michigan, they don't have other guards or other wing players who really rebound that much. But if you look at their forwards, 6'8", I think it's Jordan Morgan. I'm not sure if maybe I messed that up. He's got 4.7 rebounds a game, and then McGarry, their 6'10" freshman forward, is tied with Dylan Talley at the 5.6 rebounds a game. So I think that that's stretching a little bit.
The unfortunate thing about this comment is we unfortunately need to rebound a lot more than most other teams because Michigan doesn't miss a lot of shots, especially Trey Burke, Hardaway, they're open, they're going to hit the shot.
That's true, but the point I'm going back to is that just when you see him do that, and the reason I point to this, it's not just the numbers, it's the rebounds he's getting, the plays he's making. When he's doing those things well, it's because he's physically just going that extra mile, that he's getting a little higher and scoring at the rim.
Big physical.
He's getting, so I think that you see that, and I think that Dylan Talley's ability in the clutch, that he said it was lucky, and we have a clip of him saying it's lucky. But even the step back 3 that he hits against the shot clock, it's because you're athletic. It's because you're strong enough to throw the ball, that high and still have a chance for it to go in. I think that athleticism that he can rely on in the clutch is going to be big from a senior.
And all that you just said, that is what we want from our senior leader.
Definitely.
That's all we want.
Definitely. And I think that in a couple moments that if there's a game that they can pull an upset, they can sneak an upset at Devaney, that he will jump higher, he will run faster than he has all year, and I think that you can see, you can have faith in that kind of explosiveness.
You bring up a point. There's 5 seconds left on the clock. Who are you giving the ball to in a tied situation to shoot the last shot? Are you giving it to Dylan or are you giving it to Ray?
I gotta give it to Dylan because he's
a guy who goes, you are on the guy.
I'm on the bandwagon. I do it because he's got that lean to him where if you give him a little bit too much, he can step back and shoot without letting you get a hand in his face. Okay. But at the same time, he's just kind of got that. I can't remember exactly what the nickname for Corey Brewer was when he was at Florida, but like the mad dribbler, or like the drunk dribbler, or something like that. And he's just got that, like Dylan Talley looks like he's out of control, but just when he looks out of control, he's into your body, he draws the contact and finishes easy off the glass. And even like a little floater, even little things like that. Even sometimes when he draws fouls and he kind of like puts up a little shot put floater, he gets a chance on it. So I think that kind of versatility with the ball in his hands, I think it's an easy call.
Go with Talley?
Yep. All right. Well, there we go.
Right.
I'm going for Talley. So we'll end there before I jump too far off the Ray Gallegos bandwagon. So, Gage, thanks for joining us. Our first ever guest is nice seeing you. So
Definitely.
There it is. We'll have a little bit more Corn Fed in the morning coming up after this. But for now, I'm Pat Ragan for Corn Fed Sports. All right, we're here with our first ever guest here. All right. Well, that does it for our pre-recorded segment of this show, of that portion of it. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to try our best to have live guests in. We're going to try our best to have people come into the studio. So it's not just seeing it and not just being a part of the show, but being able to ask questions, being able to be there in real time. So right now we're coming to you live from our office here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Hopefully we'll have guests. Hopefully we'll have athletes. Hopefully we'll have some other things. We can get some phone-in guests. We can do some of that kind of stuff. But we just wanted to have a run here to see how everything worked and get all the bugs out of our system before we go live starting next Monday. So we haven't set an exact time yet. We're still trying to figure out some schedules, but it's going to be a daily show during the week. Corn Fed Sports in the morning. Here's our first run. So we're going to wrap up this final show, and I know it's been a little shaky at times, but I think we'll wrap on a strong note here. We're going to wrap up with a couple questions we've had submitted from our Twitter followers. So with every Corn Fed Sports show, we're going to have an example, or we're going to have a part where you can chime in, where you can get your questions answered. So we have a couple questions here. One's a question that we're pretty sure of, and one's a question that was just put out there. We're not sure if it was for the show, but we're going to answer it anyways. So the first question comes from Vince Mancuso. He's been a follower throughout all the volleyball season, make sure that we see everything that happens with Gina and also all the other volleyball players. He's not just specific to his family member, he's specific to all the volleyball players. So one of the biggest Husker volleyball fans out there. Vince chimed in, so we figured we answer his question. His question is, who's your favorite Husker volleyball player? And I'll take this one just on my own because I'm the primary volleyball guy around here, and I've been covering the team now for a few years. I'm with the DN before Corn-Fed Sports. So I'm going to take the question apart and look at it really specifically. The question is, who's your favorite Husker volleyball player? So not who's my favorite performer, who's not. It's my favorite player just in general. And so, instead of going with a Gina or Hannah or, people that I've come to admire for their on-the-court play, the person I'm going to pick is Bridget Root. And not just because she, is everything that a Rudy should be. Coach Cook called her their team's Rudy. And not just because she was, that person who still had a positive attitude, but what she did with it. And there are not many players that cannot be a starter, that cannot be somebody who's significant on court, but be a leader, be a vocal leader, be somebody that, even after losses, even after down games, when she was still on the team, even I'd at times look at her Twitter feed and know that it's going to be okay. And Bridget was, she always had the right message. She always knew that this team could use certain things for motivation and different things like that. And even when she got the chance to get on the court, she used it as best she could. And she went out there and she got 2 wins for Nebraska as the starting setter. So my answer for my favorite Husker volleyball player I've been covering is Bridget Root. She did everything right on and off the court. She was the person who's the face of the program, not just from being on the court, but from camps and from all the interactions she had and from being from Grand Island and all those little things. So my favorite Husker volleyball player so far has been Bridget Root. And the other question we have here is from one of our loyal followers as well, Kayla Clark. See, this is one I'm not so sure. It says, can I work for Corn-Fed Sports when I graduate? And I'm not sure if that was just a random, it's Friday and I want something better to do or what's going on. But Kayla and anybody else out there, it doesn't matter if you're a student in Nebraska, a student somewhere else, or a graduate. We're a student-run operation, but we always want to have contributions. We always want to have guests. We always want to have people chiming in. We always want to have people who can take really good photographers and really good photos in certain instances and can send us some fun pictures of fans and things like that. So we're always looking for contributors. We're always looking for people to help out. And, if anybody makes the trek to Lincoln eventually and they're here for a while, come on into the office and we'll work with you in any way that we possibly can. So we love to have fans contribute. We love to have people stop by. We love to live in the social environment, interact with all the people who follow our Twitter and follow our Facebook and interact with us that way. So this is the question answering time. And so it's not just answering her question of can you, but anybody else out there, if you ever want to get involved, if you ever want to help out, if you're a student in Nebraska, no matter what you're doing, Corn-Fed Sports is run by people who are not just Husker media members, who not just follow the teams, but are people who are really in tune with Nebraska athletics. And so if you ever think that you can help out, or if you ever have somebody who goes to school at Nebraska or anything like that, let us know. We're always looking for more people to help out. So we'll end it there after I get too much into preachy mode about helping out with Corn-Fed Sports or anything too involved. So that brings to a wrap our first Corn-Fed Sports in the morning. I'll be at the afternoon, and we'll start it up next week again for Corn-Fed Sports. I'm Pat Radigan. Thanks for tuning in.